Now, recently, you called the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler a, quote, political liability to the United States. You said he's acting in the interests of citizenry or the long-term growth of the economy, that he's not acting on behalf of customers and users. Tell us more.
Well, look, I think Gary Gensler has prioritized hiring more lawyers to litigate the industry. And this is often described as, or kind of regulation through enforcement. If we just took the time to codify rules of the road, most of the industry in crypto wants to follow the rules of the road. Countries around the world have leaned in. Even the European Union, 27 countries in the European Union have come together to create a construct for how crypto should be regulated. In the United States, we haven't done this work. I jokingly suggested maybe what we should just do is type into ChatGPT, how should the U.S. That's more than the U.S. SEC has done. And it's frustrating. And I think, I guess yesterday there was a court hearing between Coinbase and the SEC. And the judicial system continues to slap down the SEC because they're overreaching. They're overstepping what the laws say.
Brad Garlinghouse continues to attack Gary Gensler, the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, for his hostile treatment of cryptocurrencies. He believes that the United States could utilize ChatGPT in order to obtain advice on how to govern the business. An unfavorable regulatory approach in the cryptocurrency industry has been criticized by Gary Gensler, the head of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission seat, according to the chief executive officer of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. When it comes to establishing clear rules, Gensler places a higher priority on hiring more lawyers. Garlinghouse reaffirmed that Gensler is a political liability to the United States of America in a recent interview with Fox Business that took place at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The chief executive officer of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, discusses the implications of the newly introduced Bitcoin exchange-traded funds and the future cryptocurrency laws. Garlinghouse claims that the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission has made it a priority to hire additional attorneys in order to pursue the industry. This is a move that the CEO of Ripple refers to as a regulation through enforcement strategy. There are numerous divisions within the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC that are staffed with attorneys. These divisions include the Enforcement Division and the Corporation Finance Division. The numerous cases that the Securities and Exchange Commission has filed against cryptocurrency companies are a concrete manifestation of Garlinghouse's critique of the SEC's regulatory strategy. Over the course of the past 3 years, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has taken legal action against a number of companies, including Ripple, Grayscale, Coinbase, Kraken, and Binance, amongst others. Concerns have been raised by Ripple's chief executive officer regarding the SEC's regulatory approach to the cryptocurrency industry. He argued that the majority of companies involved in cryptocurrency desire to adhere to the rules of the road if only the United States regulators are able to establish these standards. It is noteworthy that Garlinghouse mentioned that countries all over the world have begun taking steps to regulate their cryptocurrency area. In accordance with Garlinghouse, one of these attempts is the adoption by the European Union of the world's first complete set of laws for the regulation of cryptocurrencies. Companies who want to issue, protect, and trade tokenized assets, cryptocurrencies, and stablecoins in the 27 European states are required to seek a license in order to comply with the legislation. This is something that should be mentioned. Garlinghouse stated that the United States of America has not done any of these efforts, despite the fact that other regions are making progress in the regulation of cryptocurrencies. In the United States, where there is a lack of clarity about regulatory matters, Garlinghouse proposed that the country should make use of the well-known artificial intelligence chatbot ChatGPT in order to obtain advice on how to manage the cryptocurrency field. According to Garlinghouse, in comparison to the efforts that the SEC has put into regulating the cryptocurrency industry, the utilization of ChatGPT services is substantially more extensive. In a lighthearted manner, I propose that perhaps what we ought to do is simply put into ChatGPT the question, how should the United States regulate crypto? It is more than what the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has done, he noted. In addition, the chief executive officer of Ripple mentioned that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has been receiving criticism from the judicial system continuously for exceeding its jurisdiction in terms of what the law needs. The reason that they were unsuccessful in their case against Ripple and Grayscale is because of this. Having Bitcoin spot exchange traded funds is the reason why they're being pulled, kicked, and screamed for. He went on to say, for the CEO of Ripple, Gensler has been acting in a manner that is contrary to the people and based on his personal agenda. It was an assertion that crypto technologies are here to stay, and he added that the recent approval of various exchange-traded funds is further evidence that this is the case. According to garlinghouse, countries such as Japan, the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom, and Switzerland have made substantial headway in regulating their cryptocurrency sectors, whereas the United States spends a large amount of time in the judicial system to obtain clarification. These are not economies of a small scale. They are putting in the effort to identify their clarity, and I believe that in the United States, it has evolved into a political agenda rather than a policy goal, he went on to say. Recently, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse gave an interview to Fox Business in which he discussed the recent approval of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds and offered his thoughts on the statements made by Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan. Garlinghouse claimed, in reaction to Jamie Dimon's severe criticism that although new technologies such as crypto may attract unscrupulous actors, they also offer major benefits and should not be disregarded completely. Garlinghouse's argument was made following Dimon's criticism. Bad actors will use any tool, he added, highlighting the significance of acknowledging the promising influence and potential of cryptocurrencies. Bad actors will use any new tool. He brought up the fact that Ripple only collaborates with regulated financial institutions and does not support transactions that are in an anonymous fashion. However, Garlinghouse also emphasized the significance of the recent approval of spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds, (TEST), by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. He described this certification as a significant validation for the cryptocurrency industry. He stated, it's a very big deal, referring to the increased interest in crypto assets from institutional investors as well as government agencies. Garlinghouse underlined that this trend might be seen as a transition from the acceptance of cryptocurrencies on the edges to the acceptance of them by the mainstream. Additionally, he provided further elaboration on Ripple's role in this ever-changing environment, as well as an explanation of how the blockchain technologies and solutions that they offer are improving the effectiveness and cost-effectiveness of international payments for financial institutions. During the course of the interview, Garlinghouse voiced his dissatisfaction with the current regulatory climate in the United States, focusing specifically on his criticism of the attitude that SEC Chairman Gary Gensler takes toward the cryptocurrency business. In contrast to the more proactive approaches that are seen in other nations, he accused Gensler of placing a higher priority on litigation than on clear regulatory framework. Garlinghouse called for regulation that places more of an emphasis on behaviors and outcomes than it does on technology itself. He emphasized the significance of principles such as know your customer, KYC, and anti-money laundering, (LL). The approval of the exchange-traded fund is an indication of the enduring power of cryptocurrencies, and it is imperative that the United States of America acknowledge and comprehend this developing asset class. He continues to be hopeful about the future of currencies.